How does a broker like you get paid?
I do this because I'm a nice guy. I don't make any money.
All right, cool. Yeah. Love it. Welcome, Claudio, to the show, to the Nailed It show. So honored to have you on here. It's been a long time coming. I wanted to have you on for a while to educate our market about the private equity, buying, selling, roofing business brokerage. All of that's a huge topic right now. So thanks so much for your time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Joseph. I want to start by saying that I do admire you and what you're doing with Contractor Dynamics. I always follow you. And, ever since I went to the first, conference, I saw what you guys are doing. And I said, one day I'm going to be in your show. And, this is it. So a dream come true for me.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Making me blush. Yes. Thank you. I actually haven't done many interviews myself on our show in a while. Elizabeth and Sydney here on our team have done a lot. I guess I kind of took a break. You just, work on, as a CEO, you need to work on different things in the business. So this is the first interview I've done in a while. So hopefully I do okay. So we're going to dive into a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of education that I'm looking forward to getting. And I think our listeners and viewers are as well. But first, before we dive in, you want to give us a little context as to who you are and what you're up to?
Great. Yeah. Fantastic. So I am a business broker. And I only sell roofing companies. So I'm not like most business brokers, agnostic. I actually believe in roofing and I do only roofing. Of course, this actually is recent because I started doing roofing brokerage in 2023. So it's just a couple of years ago. Before that, I did used to just sell everything, but now I do that. For many reasons. I love this industry. I fell in love with the industry by chance. But I do love anything that has to do with entrepreneurship and with business and, moving the world forward by creating services and products and selling them to people. So that's my philosophy, if you'll know.
I'll ask you a question that a lot of people ask me. How'd you get dragged into the roofing industry?
The answer to that is it was a little bit by chance and a little bit by design. The design part is that I really wanted to focus on one industry. I didn't know which industry was going to be. And by chance, I made it into the roofing industry. I sold, Nolan's Roofing in 2023. Greg Nolan is a good friend of mine now. I go to his son's, races. His son is a pilot. He races cars. And I go there. He was a really, really good mentor for me into this whole roofing. And I saw that there's number one, there's a lot of really hardworking people that do actual work in the industry, that there's a lot of money coming into the industry by private equity and other investors. And I saw that there's a great opportunity for me to add value. And I add value by educating the owners on how to sell their business, helping them find the best deal possible and working with them on their side.
Awesome. Yeah, our stories are very similar in terms of how I got into roofing. I don't share that because this is your time, but that's very cool. Yeah. It's cool to be able to have a direct impact on an entrepreneur, a company, and then that ripple effect of an impact that they can have on their team and their community and all that. So, I can feel that when I see you, when I talk to you, and I see your content. It's clear that you love what you do.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that I always say is, I could go to a community soup or kitchen and help homeless, which is good, but I'm just helping one or two people. If you help an entrepreneur build a business, you're helping hundreds and maybe even thousands of people because he's going to create jobs, he's going to bring investments, he's going to open up new markets, so the ripple effect of helping an entrepreneur, even though it doesn't sound that romantic, is actually much more effective. And that's the way I see it. I always try to do everything as streamlined as possible and as to have the highest or the biggest impact on people. So
Same. That's why we get along. Fantastic. So your business is the Roofing Biz Broker. I know you had a recent development here that maybe you want to share on the show. This is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. We want to break the internet with this news here.
Yes, it is. It's breaking news.
Hot off the press.
Yesterday was my last day with Sunbelt Business Brokers. I worked with Sunbelt for many years, and they're an amazing company, great people. I learned a lot from them, but I'm kind of like a lone wolf, to be honest, and I like to do my own thing, and I am an entrepreneur at heart. And as soon as I was able to actually form my own brokerage, I decided to do that. I spoke with them, and we have really good terms. I want to make sure that that's really that's expressed, right? People understand that. The reason why I did the Roofing Biz Broker is because I do have a different way of doing things, and I want to, I want to implement it, and I can only implement it if I'm the owner of my own company.
Okay. Fantastic. Congratulations. Living the American dream. What exactly do you do as a roofing, just a, basic question, but I don't want to make any assumptions. What exactly do you do as a roofing business broker?
Okay. So as a roofing business broker, I help roofers sell their businesses for the highest possible price and for the best possible terms. One of the things that I'm going to focus a lot on now that I start with the brokerage is in education. Business owners in general and roofing business owners in particular, they know about the business. They know, of course, about their sales and all that, but they don't know how to sell their business. And their businesses sometimes are very valuable, and they can get scammed if they don't know exactly what's going on. And, knowing how to run a business does not mean knowing how to sell a business. And that's what I bring to the table. Unfortunately, there's some buyers out there that might not be the best ethical buyers, and they can lure people into, high valuations, but then they start bringing it down once they have you hooked in an LOI and so forth. And I want to make sure that doesn't happen, because you build your business for 10, 20 years, and the last decision that you're going to make is to sell it. You don't want to make that decision the wrong one and, blow up what you built over 20 years. So I see that there's a very big discrepancy between the knowledge that a buyer has, especially a private equity, an institutional buyer, and a business owner. There's a big discrepancy. And what I want to do is to get both on the same level field so they can negotiate a lot better.
Yeah, it makes sense when you put it that way. You're talking about an entrepreneurial business owner going up against a gigantic private equity firm. Like it's not an even match, right? So
it's not.
It's it's David versus Goliath at that point, unless you have that education.
Well, I have that specific slide in one of my presentations. It is David versus Goliath. Yes, I agree with you 100%. A private equity that's even middle-sized or small will have a lot more resources than any business owner will have. Why? Because that's what they do. They buy and sell businesses. So they're organized and they're ready for that. So they have an army of people. They have accountants, they have attorneys, they have analysts, they have a whole bunch of people that are going to help them buy your business. If you're standing in front of them with just a rock, David versus Goliath is a great story in the Bible, but I don't think it happens that often in real life. You're going to get squashed by Goliath. So I don't want that to happen.
No doubt. Okay. Well, why is, before we dive into the nuts and bolts, why is private equity so hot on the roofing industry right now?
Okay. Well, roofing industry, we all know it's a blue collar industry, which means that it's going to continue throughout the years. You're going to continue building roofs. You're going to continue repairing roofs. Houses get older and people have to repair them. So it's an industry that's not going to go away. Number one. Number two, it's a very fragmented industry. There's, depends on what kind of report you read. There's between 70 and 100,000 roofing companies out there. And that is something that private equity loves because it allows them to do roll-ups and to bring 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 companies together and bring it into a bigger one. So, and then you have people that are retiring, lots of people that are older and are retiring. And the younger people that are coming in are more, how can I put it, entrepreneurially educated, if you will, and they want to grow their business. So they could actually sell to private equity and get a lot more funding so they can get where they want to be. So there's a lot of reasons why people with private equity is looking for them. But I want to make sure that we understand that private equity is not the only game in town. There's other investors. There's what's called the family offices, which is a little different than private equity. There's other roofing companies that want to grow through acquisitions, which is another great opportunity. There's things called ESOP, for example, which is employee stock ownership programs. So you can actually sell to your employees and you not only do great for the people who helped you over 20, 30 years, but also you save a lot of money in taxes and so forth. There's a lot of there's many different options when you want to exit the company.
That's a good highlight there. As soon as I said that term private equity, I caught myself because I know that's just one part of it. I mean, that is the kind of buzzword out there these days, which is why it was top of mind for me. But that's a great point. So, okay, great. So that's a good overview of the landscape. So I'll open it up. I mean, we can go a bunch of different directions here, but
sure.
What do you want people to know? What do you want to educate people on?
Great. Yeah. Well, the first thing is you just, said it. This is, breaking news that I started my own brokerage, and I told you a little bit about that. I want to tell you about my vision for it because I think it's really important. And you're the first person that I'm actually talking about the vision. So I really appreciate your time.
This is bigger than Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift podcast, I think. That's been it's August 14th right now, 2025, and that's like the thing that's going around the internet. So we're going to try to rival them.
Well, I don't know if I can look like Taylor Swift, but I'll do what I can. So here's the thing. When you're selling your business, you're typically calling me or another broker or maybe somebody else and you say, hey, I want to sell my business, and you're not ready for it. So, it takes a long time to actually get ready to sell the business. On the other hand, you see that there's a lot of people who want to buy businesses, and you have a third group of people, which is, for example, you and other people who bring value to the roofing community. You bring value because of the marketing side. Some other people bring value because their training side, they train their sales reps and so forth. So I thought, well, what if we start looking to put everybody together under the same goal? And we say, hey, you know what? We're going to help this business owner grow, build their business, and then sell it. And we can monitor that and we can accompany them on the step-by-step basis. So how do you do that? Well, I'm building a community that I'm building. I will build, because this is my first day, okay? But I will build a community of people who are really interested in selling, in making the business owner successful. But it's got to be people who really are interested, not just anybody, right? So if we can create a community of people that are interested in helping people grow and they grow, eventually we're going to sell it, which is where I come in. But it takes a few years, and I want to have the relationship. I don't like the tactical relationships. I like strategic relationships. So in my mind, I got it all figured out. Of course, I got to put it, from my mind to paper, from paper to action. But that's what I envision for the next couple of years, to have a place where a business owner can log in, can have a community. He knows who can help him do what. So you start by doing an analysis of his company and say, okay, well, this is what you need. You need marketing, you need sales, you need this, you need that, whatever you need. And these are the people who are going to help you. In the meantime, we can work with the buyers to help them know what they are looking for. So you're going to have a community where you're going to have the buyers, the sellers, and the people that can help the process. Okay. This is what I'm envisioning. I think it's completely different than what's out there. It's more a strategic kind of thing than a tactical kind of thing, and it really puts the owner's mind into the into the objective or the idea of eventually selling the business. But if you don't sell it, it doesn't matter. It's about you growing.
Right. Okay. Right. Because we can talk about that too. If you build it to sell or build as a sellable asset, it's going to be a better company anyway.
Exactly.
I love that idea. I actually, I don't know all the ins and outs of your idea. I actually had that idea earlier this year because, just being in the roofing industry, but not in the whole, brokerage space, but just seeing like how there's so much information floating around there. And there's that central meeting, that marketplace, that central meeting place to get educated and for people to connect. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, there's Cody Sanchez does something like that with Biz Scout, and I listen to, I don't know if you know her, but I listen to one of her podcasts.
I know her.
Listen to one of her podcasts, and she started Biz Scout, and I was like, man, that would be a cool model to just like execute in the roofing industry. But it's not for me to do because I'm doing my thing. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
But you can be part of it. I mean, what I'm saying is people can be part of it. People who are interested in selling in helping the roofing business owner, could be part of it. And I'm just throwing this idea. Hopefully, I'm not throwing you a curve here, but
no. I mean, it makes sense. Like you want to have that vetted community because, we're both active on social media. There's Facebook groups and whatnot, but there's a different level to having that vetted community where you're going to get the right answers and that maybe you can be a little bit vulnerable and share some things if you want. It's not a public forum. So yeah, we run a community as well. And I'm huge on that just because it's a shortcut, right? Not that we're looking for shortcuts, but you can get the answers you need. You can connect with the right people directly.
It's more efficient rather than a shortcut, right?
Exactly. Okay. So that's exciting. I'm excited to follow that along. I know it's just day one of that, but
yeah. Well, I have my son who he's 30 years old. I just recruited him to work with me on building that. My wife works with me as well, so this is a family affair, if you will. And cool. And we all have the same idea, the same vision, if you will. And you have to have a vision if you start a business. I wouldn't start a business just to sell businesses, right? I'm doing it for a bigger reason.
Nice. Okay. Well, we're rooting for you and I'm here to support you however I can. So, so I'm a roofing company owner. I'm not, but, hypothetically, and I'm like, all right, well, it's interesting to me, this whole I could potentially sell this thing that I built with my bare hands over the past 10 years. What should I look out for? What do I need to know? Where do I start? I don't even know.
I'll tell you the first thing that I find when anybody calls me to sell their company, and it's not necessarily the most important, but it's the most overlooked part. Okay. Which has to do with their accounting and their financials. And, you smile because you know what happens. For some reason that I will never understand, business owners pay zero attention to that. So, if I ask any owner, hey, how much money are you selling? And they're going to say, sell it, 5 million, 3 million, 10 million a year. And then I say, how much money are you making? Well, I don't know. Ask my accountant. And if I'm going to buy a roofing company, I'm not asking them how much money they're selling, what the revenues are. I'm asking them how much money they're making. So that shows you exactly how the business owner is here and the buyer is in the complete opposite side of the business. And then when you try to estimate how much money they're actually making, then you find out that they were doing their taxes or their accounting just for taxes. They don't use accounting for strategic decision making, which is a shame because if you actually know how to read your financial statements, you know where your business is going and you can actually prevent problems by looking at your financials and the evolution of financials. If you actually know how to read balance sheets and you actually know how to read cash flow statements and P&Ls, you can tell that your business is actually not going the way you think you're going because everybody talks about, hey, I'm going to be selling more. Yeah. But if you sell more at a lower GP, then you could actually get into trouble. If you sell too much and then you don't manage your cash flow, you get into trouble. Most businesses fail because of cash flow. Okay, even if you're making money, if your cash flow is not right, you could get into trouble because you're not going to be able to pay your debt. But you can only see that if you're actually actively looking at your numbers. And at the end of the day, that's why you have a business, right? So number one, top of mind and A1A, if you will, is the accounting and financials. The number two, really close to that, after that, is the involvement that the business owner has in the business. And you want to have as little involvement as possible. Like you were saying, right? You're talking with Elizabeth, and your team is actually conducting your business because you are the CEO of the company. I appreciate very much that you're having this interview with me. I feel very honored, but I know that you have other things to think about in your company, right? You're a little bit above the company because you're looking at the future. Your job as a CEO, as an owner, is not to take care of the roof that's being done today, is taking care of what's the next step in your company. As an owner, you should always be one step beyond the company because you're bringing the company with you to your vision, right? And many owners, unfortunately, don't work on their vision. They don't work on their mission, their vision, how they want to get to it. Why are they doing what they're doing? So when that happens, the owner becomes just another employee in the company. And when the owner is just another employee in the company, then that company is not sellable because you don't have a team that's going to be moving with the company when you sell it. You are the business. Okay. Next to that, you want to make sure that you have a good leadership, and it's very tied to what I just said, right? You want to have a very good leadership that not only know what they're doing, they also know where you're going, that they act like, the chain between you and the team, the working team. So they understand your vision, they implement your vision, and they help you move the company forward. If you have those things, then you have a company that's going to be very valuable. If you don't, you're not going to get as much money as you would like to for the company, but you also could get in real big trouble, because if you're the only one who makes the decisions in the company and something happens to you, your company is not going to survive. If you don't know how to read your financials, you might be doing a lot of investment in marketing, but that investment is not bringing you ROI, and then you're just wasting your money. If you don't invest in your team, well, your team is not going to be able to invest in the second or third level of command. So it all it all comes down to those points.
Okay. So finances and accounting, key man, number two would be like key man risk. I think that would be a phrase for it. Mm-hmm. And then good leadership team. Makes sense. And those things I started this business 12 years ago, and I have a business degree and a finance degree and all that stuff from university, but it doesn't really mean much until you get out of the real world, because that was quite frankly a weakness of mine for a bunch of years. And, as visionaries, we focus on the big picture, right? It's bringing in deals, it's sales, it's, revenue. And, we see it. I see it with myself and I see it with our clients. It's just like the detailed things just, they get pushed until they absolutely have to get done. And so for many years, I didn't have all that stuff buttoned up until we had a real fractional CFO who is not only, doing the books, but budgeting and projecting and strategizing and things like that. So that's a big thing. Where do you recommend people get educated about that, or how do they get help with that financial piece?
That's a really good point. You just mentioned fractional CFO, and I was this morning talking with a fractional CFO. I want to start promoting the idea that you really need a fractional CFO. And I would say you need a fractional CFO before you have a bookkeeper, because the fractional CFO will tell the bookkeeper how to put the books together. If you have a bookkeeper, they're not really savvy on, the financial analysis. And again, it's all about analysis and having somebody telling you, hey, you're going in the right direction or you're not going in the right direction. And, most people in marketing and sales hate finances. We used to call them, when I was working with J&J, the anti-sales committee. So they were always, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. And we hated them, but they have a reason for being. And if you want to create a decent sized company, you have to have a CFO. Then of course you have courses, any accounting or any finance courses. I think it's really important to at least have an idea of what you should know or what you should look for, not become an expert, but you should look for that. I mean, when I look at the P&Ls that I receive from some of the companies, I pull my hair out because I just can't believe the things that I see. Right. And it shouldn't happen because your responsibility is to do that. So, number one, once you hit a certain level, I would definitely say hire a fractional CFO. Of course, a CFO is expensive, but a fractional CFO can help you a lot. Because, the internet and Facebook is all full of marketing and sales because it's the shining, element. It's a pretty girl, but, it's not necessarily, it's very important. And don't get me wrong. I'm all about marketing, but marketing is there so you can make money. And the only way you can know if you make money is if you keep your financials straight.
Yes. And it ties, we have a fractional CFO, Rob. He's great. And we're not a huge company. So you don't have to, wait till you get to a certain level and then say, hey, I want to hire a fractional CFO, right? It's, couple grand a month, few grand a month, however you want to, depends on who you get. But the way I look at it as a bookkeeper is a doer, right? They do the work. A fractional CFO is the thinker. Like they're actually you're paying for someone's thinking, not just their labor. And it's huge. And that does tie into, I know we're not talking about marketing here, but I can't help myself. It does tie into marketing because, like Rob, our CFO, we butt heads, right? Because we want to spend money on going to conferences and events, and we have these calls like, hey, you guys have, do you really need to go to this conference? Did you really need to do this like client dinner for 20 people and all that stuff? And like, yeah, Rob, it's long term brand building, right? It's but there is a happy medium there, so it's good. It's good to have him. Otherwise, just guys like me get in trouble. So,
well, my wife, she worked for Citibank for over 20 years. And now, like I said, she's working with me and she's doing she's not only doing the financial analysis for the companies that we sell, but it's also doing kind of like a fractional CFO for my company. And that's the conversation we have all the time. Hey, let's go here. No, it's too expensive. Well, yeah, it's expensive, but if you think I can meet so and so, it's like, yeah, but and it's okay because it balances you, right? If it was my wife only, she wouldn't go anywhere. If it was me, I would be spending all my money going anywhere. So the balance is what you're looking for. So
exactly.
And that's good.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What else do you want people to know, Claudio?
Well, I would like people to know that selling your business is a profession. It's not easy. What I bring to the table to my clients and, me or other broker, but, you want to work with a broker. You don't want to do it on your own, especially somebody that understands how the lower middle market works, which is where most roofing companies who sell are. If you're about $500,000 in EBITDA or more, you're starting to get into the lower middle market. $1 million is basically the number. You want to be ready to sell, even if you don't want to sell. If you're not planning to sell, you really want to be ready to sell for many reasons. One is because it's a good management technique. Your job as a business owner is to create value, and that is shown in the valuation of your company, right? If you did a good job, the valuation of your company is going to go higher. Okay. So it makes sense from that point of view. It makes sense because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I don't want to bring up, sad stories, but there are many sad stories of people who, never expected to sell, but, they get diagnosed with cancer, or they get hit by a bus, or it doesn't have to be that terrible. It could be that you're moving to a different state, for example, and then you have to sell your business because you got to go, but you didn't plan for it. So you're never going to get the value that you could get if you were prepared for it. So that's the other reason. And one thing that I would like to say is there's a process for selling a business. Okay. I told you, I'm very much into processes. And if you do the right process, you can get tons of offers and you can get the best deal. If you don't do the right process, you're just going to sell it to the first one who swipes right. And you don't want to do that. I know this is a culture where, everything is instant, but selling a business takes time and effort, and you want to have that process. So what I do typically is I have conversations, first of all, with my clients. We go through the process step by step. But when we put the business on the market, I create a bid for the like an auction for the business. And I gather between 5 and 20 offers. The maximum I had was 21 offers. The least I have is 5. So that's the average that you're going to get. So what you do is I receive all those offers. I analyze them, and then we sit down with the seller and we say, okay, fine. We have, let's say, 10 offers. These 10 offers, the quality of the buyer is very important. So this is the quality of the buyers, higher or lower. And the quality of the buyer will change depending on the seller, because it has to do with their alignment in values and vision and so forth. So a good buyer for one seller might be a bad buyer for another seller. Okay. I'll give you an example. Some sellers don't want to sell to private equity. They want to sell only to another roofing company. So for that seller, another roofing company will have a higher value, right? It doesn't mean that the other one, that the private equity is bad, but it means that for him it's better. So number one, who the buyer is extremely important. And many people overlook that. Most people don't even care about who the buyer is, right? But to me, it's extremely important. And I'll explain why in a minute. The second part is the terms, okay? There's a joke that says, somebody comes into a room, and actually I'm going to use this in my next boot camp, which I'll tell you about it. So he can come to the room full of business owners and says, I'll buy all of your businesses at the price that you want, but I will set the terms. Okay. So it's not about the price. It's a price and the terms and the buyer. So number one, buyer. Number two, the terms. And we can talk about what terms are good, which are bad, and what have you. And finally, the actual enterprise value, the EV or enterprise value. Okay. So 99% of the people that call me that they want to sell their businesses, how much money can I get? And I'm like, wait, it's not only about that, because you could get $20 million and they're going to pay you $100 a month until the end of the decade or the century, right? So it's a value. It's the enterprise value, is the terms and conditions, and it's who the buyer is. Those are the three things. So like I said, let's suppose we got 10 offers. We sit down with the seller and we go one by one. I like this offer from this buyer, with these terms. And then I go back to the buyers and I maximize the valuation plus the terms with the buyers that they want. Okay. And then we go to the second part of the deal, which is the LOI. The LOI means letter of intent. And that's where we negotiate with the seller, with the buyer, which, by the way, many people overlook this, right? They go directly to sign an LOI because they want to get into the LOI to close the business. Well, the issue is that the seller has the best leverage right before signing the LOI and has the lowest leverage right after they sign. So if a seller is actually rushing to sign an LOI, he's rushing to put himself in trouble. Okay. So you have to be patient. You have to negotiate. You have to review the LOI a million times. Make sure that it actually reflects what the buyer wants to buy, what the seller wants to sell, the terms that they agree on, blah, blah. There's a lot of things that you have to look into the LOI. And then you sign the LOI. One of the biggest mistakes, there make many mistakes if you're selling your business on your own, but one of the biggest mistakes you would do is actually sign that LOI and go right into the quality of earnings and due diligence.
Hey guys, I want to jump in here real quick. If you're a roofing company doing over $3 million a year in revenue, but marketing still feels like a gamble, we need to talk. Most of the roofing companies that we talk to and work with are just sick of spending so much money on different marketers and agencies and not getting the results that they were promised. Some of them have lost trust in marketing and just want that trusted partner that they can count on. At Contractor Dynamics, we have helped hundreds of roofing companies build marketing systems that generate real, predictable growth without the chaos, confusion, or shady agency BS. Whether you want to run your own marketing in-house or have a trusted partner do it for you, we'll help you build the right plan and support you every step of the way. Click the link below in the description to book a free marketing clarity call with our team. We'll help you map out a real plan for getting the leads you need and finally feeling confident in your marketing.
once you sign the LOI, you go into, what was it? The quality of earnings?
Quality of earnings and due diligence.
Due diligence. Okay. So those are due diligence. I am personally aware of. Quality of earnings. That's interesting. I am not aware of that. So you can explain those two concepts real quick?
Yeah. Quality of earnings is it's part of the due diligence, but it happens before you go through all the rest of the process of due diligence. And the quality of earnings, the buyer is making sure that what you said the business is making, it's actually happening. They will check your bank statements. They will check your accounts receivables. They will check everything in your financial part of the business. And only if the financial part actually ticks and makes sense, they will go into the rest of the due diligence. Okay. So quality of earnings, it doesn't happen in the smaller businesses. In the smaller businesses, it's pretty one size fits all. They do everything at the same time. In the larger businesses, they do a quality of earnings analysis, and they have all these graphics and, all the financial stuff that the business owners never look at. That's when the buyer looks at. So the thing is, once you sign the LOI, the important thing for a business owner to understand is once you sign the LOI, the business owner is hooked to close the deal, but the buyer is not hooked to close it. Okay. What happens is once you sign the LOI, you can't continue to shop around any other buyers. You have to wait until you either sell the business or you come out of the, or you cancel the contract, but you can't be shopping around. So the business owner, right after you sign the LOI, the business owner has the lowest leverage. That's what I said before, right? The buyers, the unscrupulous buyers, and there are many of them, they want to sign an LOI as soon as they can, and they will give you a huge valuation just to get you to sign the LOI. But right after that, they're going to say, well, now we're doing the quality of earnings, and they're starting to find skeletons in the closet, and they're starting to say, oh yeah, we told you $10 million, but we were assuming this, and nope, this is not happening, so now it's $9 million. And then they come back and say, well, I didn't find this, so now it's $8 million. And they start winding you down to try to get you to a much lower price than what they offered initially. Okay. I'm not talking about every buyer. I'm talking about unscrupulous buyers. But if you're a business owner and you're just selling on your own, you don't know who's who, right? So it's very important that you work again with people that are on your side. So that's called deal fatigue. And deal fatigue is a strategy that unscrupulous buyers use to get you to sell a lot lower price than what they offered you at the beginning. And you can't leave it until you actually made a decision whether, continue to sell or exit the contract. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Deal fatigue. So the business owner is just like, man, I'm just sick of dealing with this. Just whatever. Let's just wrap it up. Like, I'm going to walk away. Yes. Okay.
And you have no idea how often that happens. It's like, even in a deal that goes well and everything is smooth and everything, these things happen a lot because there's a lot of questions that the buyers ask from the sellers. And I'm talking hundreds of questions. So the way to solve that, Joseph, is to prepare for that when you put the business for sale and not when you get to the due diligence. So one of the things that I work with my clients is we put the business on the market. And as I'm getting new offers and so forth, while I'm doing that, I'm working with them to prepare for the exit, for the due diligence and what have you.
Got it. Okay. So you're trying to close that delta between like what they think the business is worth and like what they're going to come back with and the quality of earnings. Not like a big spread. They're ideally equal. Okay.
Ideally equal. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or close, at least close.
Right. They're not going to be equal. What you just said explained is happening with one of our clients right now, actually. I'm not saying the buyer is unscrupulous, but that happened where our client was pretty much ready to go. And they're like, yep, we're going to close in, July. And then it didn't happen because of the quality of earnings. I didn't know that term, but now that you explain it, yeah. So that's, I can see that happening. And then deal fatigue. Yeah, I get deal fatigue, negotiating with my 13-year-old son. After a while, he's just wears me down. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Do whatever you want. I just don't I don't care. I'm busy.
Yeah. Imagine if you're selling a multi-million-dollar business to your 13-year-old son.
Yeah. Man. Okay. How long does this process, if I wanted to sell my business right now, like how long is the process? Would you say it's like a 3-year, 5-year, 1 year? Like how long?
It depends on it depends on how you look at it. Let's say it from the moment that you sign a listing you sign an agreement to sell it until you actually close, it could be between 6 months and a year. Okay. On average, 6 months and a year. But you should be,
Well, that's with like signing a deal and then closing, right? But like before that, like if someone are like right now, listen to this or watch this, hey, Claudio, I want you to help me. I guess that's what you're probably about to say.
That's exactly what I was about to say. So you read my mind. I like it because you and I, think very much alike. So here's the thing. If you want to sell and exit, one thing is to sell and the other one is to exit the business. Okay. Let's say you want to exit the business, meaning you have nothing else to do with the business anymore. Nobody calls you, it's completely out of your mind. You want to start 5 years before. 5, not 1, not 2, not 3, 5 years. And I'll tell you why. First of all, whoever buys your business is going to look at least 3 years back. So your finances should be crystal clear, pristine, perfectly well done. Your systems should be done. Everything should be ready to go 3 years before. You need to show that your business is growing, that your business is stable, that your business is solid in those 3 years. So 3 years before. Now, you sell the business. You put the business to sell. You got about 6 months to a year to sell that business. So 3 + 1, 4. You close a deal and the new owner is going to say, well, but I need you to stay with me at least a year or 2, 5 years, 6 years. Okay. So, when people say, hey, I'm not interested right now because I want to sell, next year, it's like, dude, you have to be interested right now because you're already late, right? You gotta get it started early. Okay. And that's why, my job is to be very patient. I'm very patient because my business cycle is very long, right? Because I'm selling businesses today of people that I met 2 or 3 years ago, right? And believe it or not, I don't want to shorten it. I want to have longer relationships with people. What I do want to shorten is the time between the moment you decide to sell and the moment you close the deal. And the reason, the whole reason that I'm working on the community and to work on this ecosystem, if you will, that's the idea of what I'm working on, is to shorten that period. When you say, Claudio, I flip the switch, I want to sell the business, I want to have people lighting up for your business the next day. And I want to close that sale, 3 months later. Okay. That's the idea. If you don't do that, it's going to take forever and you will get the achieved.
Got it. Okay. I love this. This is so much good information. I'm taking notes here. So you mentioned that 3-year, I say like 3-year look back, right? They're looking back at 3 years. What is a buyer looking for? I mean, you mentioned financials, but you said stable, steady, good, solid company. What types of things are they looking for?
Yes, that's it. This is an industry where you're not looking for huge, rapid growth. It's not like a tech industry, right? It's not high tech or anything like that. This is people who are buying these businesses. And in general, they're buying businesses that are stable and growing, with good EBITDA, good earnings. They're typically looking between 10 and 20% of sales. So if you're selling $1 million, you want to make sure that you're making at least $100,000 to $200,000. But it doesn't have to grow leaps and bounds year over year. Actually, that sometimes makes people suspicious of what's going on. So how come in an industry that everybody's stable, you're growing this fast? Is that growth sustainable in the future? Right? So you want, if you have a high growth company, which are high growth company, you got to make sure that you explain very well how the buyer is going to continue to grow that company. Okay. So they're looking for that. They're looking for SOPs, right? Very important, very, very important to have everything in writing. Because again, what the buyer is buying is what's called the going concern, basically a business that will continue in the future when they buy it. The biggest fear a buyer has is I put all this money in this business and, 3 months later it's going to the ground. So that's what you want to have. Okay. One thing that you gotta be very thoughtful about is how you deal with your top management. Okay. And this is very important. I have all these conversations with the owners. It's like, I don't want to tell anything to my management until we are ready to sell. Personally, I think it's a mistake. Okay. And this is the reason why I think it's a mistake. When you are going to sell your business, you know that. Okay. Your management will surely find out about it, whether you like it or not. You're going to be giving signs, secret meetings, and because we do try to keep the confidentiality, but people are not stupid in general.
Right.
And if they're stupid and working for your company, maybe you want to get rid of them and get somebody that's better, right?
Yeah. If they don't pick up on it. Yeah, that's fine.
So your management can pick up on this. Now, imagine two different situations. Number one, you have an owner that is open with their team, and he says, guys, I'm going to put the business on the market, of course, the management team, not everybody, but the management team. Guys, we're going to put the business on the market. Help me sell it. And when I sell it, you're going to get a bonus, or you're going to get some kind of perks. Okay. And then we start having the buyer seller meetings, which is part of the process, right? I didn't explain the whole process, but part of the process is the buyer seller meetings. And sometimes they're over Zoom and sometimes are in person. So you have a buyer seller meeting in person, and imagine the seller comes to the buyer with a whole management team, and each part of the management team explains what they do in the company and why they're proud of working in the company and how happy they are that he is retiring and they're going to have this opportunity. Look at the buyer. Okay. That company just raised their valuation in the buyer's eyes. Okay. Yeah. The seller can sell the business for more money, and the management is actually excited to sell the business. Situation number one. Situation number two. You don't say anything until the last day. And the management has heard these rumors around. They feel betrayed. They don't like what you did. They don't like the buyer. They don't know who the buyer is, and they start leaving. And they're leaving right before you're closing. You think you're going to close? Yeah. Or the buyer's going to walk away?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the two situations. And the worst thing that can happen when you're actually telling your management that you're going to sell the business is the management leaves. If they're leaving now, they would have left later anyway. But if you leave now and you're starting to sell the business, you can always hire more people and get it ready for sale. And you have time. So the fact that people hide from their management that they're selling, even though it seems like the most appropriate thing to do, or I don't know, the thing to do, I would definitely say, don't do that. Have your team helping you sell the business, and make sure that you protect your team. And remember, we talked about the terms and conditions. Mm-hmm. Well, part of the terms and conditions are, what's the buyer going to do with your team once you're gone? And you can negotiate that too. And that's very valuable too.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So some of the management team or leadership team might want to stay on. Some of them might want to move on. So can that be negotiated kind of piecemeal? It's not like the whole leadership team. Maybe it's like this person.
Yeah, of course. You will see who you're going to work with more and all that. You will define who you want to work with. But there's another thing. Let's suppose you put a meeting with your management. They say, guys, I want to retire and I want to sell my business. And the management turns around and says, well, if you want to retire and sell your business, why didn't you sell it to us? When you have another buyer that could be part of your negotiations.
That's the ESOP you're talking about, right?
That's the ESOP. It doesn't have to be an ESOP. It could actually be a straight up sale, but ESOP is one great way to do it. Now, the ESOP really, it's a federally scrutinized kind of system, and that means that there's a lot of things that you have to work on to make it work. But it's really good, and as an owner that sells to an ESOP, your tax incentives are just crazy. You can save millions of dollars on taxes.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yes.
Maybe we're doing a second podcast here.
We could talk about ESOPs. I really like them, and I think it's a great way to keep your legacy.
Okay, that makes sense. Great. So it's a multi-year process, having the predictability of growth that buyer wants, the certainty of future growth and cash flow and all that. So your processes and all that has to be dialed in.
Mm-hmm. And you always have to be ready to sell.
Always have to be ready to sell. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about our own plan. We have Vision 2030 for our company, and our leadership team is aware of, all the pieces and how they play a role into that. So I'm glad we're doing something right there, I guess. How does a broker like you, obviously, I'll talk about dollar figures, but how does a broker like you get paid? Like what's, is it a percent of the deal? Is it a retainer? Like, just so people know what to expect.
I do this because I'm a nice guy. I don't make any money.
All right, cool. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, erase that because it's not true.
That's going to be the beginning, the hook in the episode, the very beginning. Yeah.
No, I do make money, but I only charge the sellers when they sell the business.
Okay.
So I don't charge anything for preparing the business. I don't charge anything for doing the analysis. I don't charge anything for that, but I do charge them for selling the business. Now, having said that, sometimes I see a business that needs to be tweaked, and then I will refer them to other people. Like, for example, if they need marketing, I would probably refer them to you. If they need financial analysis, I have CFOs that I refer them to. But I personally don't make any money until I actually sell the business, which aligns my expectations to my client's expectations.
Wow. Okay. All right. So there's a lot of trust that goes into that.
Yeah. And a contract.
Yes, of course. Of course.
But yeah. I really enjoy it. I love talking with business owners and talking about their dreams, their ideas, how they build a business. I'd love to have a podcast, but I don't have the time for that. But I'd love to have a podcast with the stories of the people that I heard, because I can tell, and you have many stories as well, I'm sure. But that's what keeps me, that excited about the business. That's what I like,
Yeah, as I'm writing all this stuff down, all these notes here, all these little tidbits, I'm like, man, this could be a book. Like, you could write a book. You could develop that ecosystem, that course with the step-by-step, video, things like that, which I'm sure you've already, you're already thinking about. So, there's just so much here. So I want to make sure we mention that you mentioned a boot camp. I want to make sure that we touch on that before we have to stop here. So what's that all about?
Okay. So the boot camp is, I've been to many boot camps in my life, and in boot camps, conferences, conventions, or whatever. And I see that they're really nice, very good, but they don't dig deep into a subject. It's typically top up, especially because we're in such a, shallow society, if you will. Everything is the sound bites. Everything is a 30-second or less clip, and one thing is, the content for internet, and the other one is really understanding, about a subject. So I decided that, one of the things that I wanted to do with my new brokerage is to really train people and bring them to the nitty gritty of what it is to sell a business. So I'm putting a boot camp together on the 26th of September here in Fort Myers, with MVG. So the idea is we're going to be there for a whole day, and I'm not bringing any personalities, gurus. I'm bringing people who actually do the work. I'm bringing accountants that do quality of earnings. So they will teach you exactly what quality of earnings is. I'm bringing attorneys that all they do is sales, is business sales. It's, and it's a different type of attorney. They're going to focus on training you how to read an LOI, how to understand a purchase agreement, what are the problems or the landmines that you should be aware of. Okay. I'm bringing a guy that's going to talk about ESOPs. So you have options on ESOPs, and I'm bringing people who do taxes, because the least thing you want is, after you worked all these years, to have Uncle Sam come and taking most of what you make, right? That hurts a lot. So, and there's ways to plan for that, and there's ways to minimize that legally and thoughtfully. So I'm going to bring those people, and more than people being on stage, we're going to do a little bit of stage and training and explanation, and then hands-on work. So we're going to put simulations. Suppose you're reading this LOI. What do you find here? What do you not find here? Where are the hidden, the small defined print and things like that, and making it fun too. We're going to have some fun. We're going to go have a speakeasy afterwards, and and so forth. But the idea is to really, focus on teaching you what it is like to actually sell your business, so you're ready when the time comes.
That is fantastic. I love the idea of the boot camp. We do marketing workshops that are full day. Sometimes we'll have 80 people. Sometimes it's like 10 people. I actually like the small ones because you're able to actually dig in.
Yes.
80, 100 people. It is kind of surface level. So that's cool. I went to the EOS conference in April down in DC, and I sat in at least one, maybe two breakout sessions about becoming exit ready. They called it. I think one of the companies actually called exit ready, and they did list out like, here are the 6 professionals that you're going to need. The
exactly
attorney, the accountant, the tax
accountant, yes,
all that stuff. So
wealth manager.
Yeah. They did list all that out. So it's good to be aware of. So that's very valuable. So we'll make sure that we edit this podcast to get this out in time to promote your boot camp.
I appreciate it very much, Joseph. I really do. And I said it many, many times. I love following you. I love the things that you're doing. I like the fact that you guys are, helping business owners understand marketing, which is another thing that, people see videos and clips and they don't really understand what marketing is. I personally am a major in marketing. But that was before the internet. So,
oh boy.
But yeah, I believe that there's a huge misunderstanding in marketing, and you're actually helping people understand what marketing is all about, which is not just the fancy pictures and dancing TikToks. It's about your brand, right?
Yes. It's both exciting and it's also honestly stressful every day because there's so much. I'm sure you can relate. There's so much that you want to communicate to people, and there's but yeah, the attention spans are just so minute, right?
Yes.
Our like marketing and sales cycle is very long. We enrolled a new client this week. First reached out to me on May 23rd, 2019. So we're talking, over now. That's not typical. If it was typical, we would have a cash flow problem. But yeah, I mean, that is not atypical. Someone, like consuming content for a couple of years. Maybe they go try some different things. They try the shiny objects, the quick fixes, and then they realize like, okay, I need to actually buckle down and do the work. So yeah, it's exciting and both like just challenging, like taking all this stuff and trying to like communicate that to people. So
but the marketing does take time. It's not sales. And that's what I used to discuss this a lot when I was with Johnson & Johnson. It's marketing it's more long term. It's about building the brand. It's when people call you, that's when you start realizing that that's marketing. If you're calling them, that's sales, right? If you're calling, you got a knock on their door, that's sales. And email marketing to me is email sales more than marketing. Marketing is what you do, what I do, being in front of people, showing your value, and then getting people to remember your name and getting people to remember the value that you add. That's to me the marketing part.
Absolutely. You're doing a great job at it. You are all over the place right now on social media, all these events, driving all over the place to do podcasts and whatnot. So, yeah, I appreciate the hustle. I love it. So any parting words you want to leave with our audience before we sign off here? I know we could talk for hours, but cognizant of the time.
The parting words that I would have is if you're a business owner out there and you're hustling and you're trying to make your business successful, understand that we know that it's not easy. We know how hard it is to be a business owner. And at least on my side, and knowing your side too, Joseph, we're here to support you. It's not only about selling the business. It's not only about doing marketing for you. It's to make sure that you are successful, because you being successful actually drive so much success for so many people. And you're the spear, the tip of the spear in your company. So, make sure you make all those right decisions. And if you don't know if it's a right decision or not, just give us a call, right? We will help you. Fantastic. Right, Joseph?
Yeah, fantastic. How do they give you a call? Where do they go to find you?
The best thing is to give me a call to my cell phone, which is 954-774-4141. Go to my website, and my website is going to be changing a lot, but, come on in. It's, www.theroofingbizbroker.com. And my email is claudio.vilas@theroofingbizbroker.com.
All right. We'll make sure we include all of that right there on the screen or down below in the description and all that. One thing I do want to just get in at the end there. This stuff's hard, right? Like selling a business, marketing, growing a business. I've been in it 12 years. Claudio's been in it for a long time as well. So, you're listening to this, you're watching this. Like, I know a lot of gurus out there want to paint the picture that should be very easy. And here's my business in a box that you just buy, right? It's not, that's not reality. So I appreciate you digging in today and sharing like really what it takes to build a business that is sellable, even if you never want to sell it. That's what we're doing here. Like, we're building to sell. Whether it ever sells or not, I don't know if I even want that or care. It's up to the leadership team. I don't know, but I know that building a to sell is going to be a much more valuable business that's going to create a better, life for me and our team as well. So thanks so much for diving in and sharing all this. I can't wait to get this out to the roofing industry.
Thank you so much, Joseph. It's been a real pleasure.